Hey there guys and welcome back. Yeah, a lot of things happened. This is what we've got at this point. This did not make it into the person contest. And there's a lot to say about that. So, first off, where to start actually. So, why didn't this make it into the person contest? Theoretically, with the exception of a number of broken parts, which I frankly, and by a number I actually just mean these three. This would be one of the legs and the bottom hatch, with the exception of these pieces. And I should state that I frankly could have fibbed these ones. I could have done a patch repair on these and just made it look like the whole entire thing was functional and submitted it. So, with the exception of these pieces, these replacement pieces, the print was just barely done in time. Like, it came down to half an hour. And I had broken pieces. So, in theory, I could have taken pictures of this, put it up on there, and just submitted it as is, right? One other thing to mention is this happened afterwards. Because I'm talking about broken pieces, I'll just go ahead and bring this up. The trunk broke after that point. The trunk actually wasn't broken at that point, but I decided not to. I decided not to take pictures pretending like everything was okay. Here's a broken head. That also happened afterwards, but... And the reason I didn't do that is because, frankly, there are several things wrong with this. So, first off, and it's one of these things, I could... Along those lines, I do want to mention this just because it is something I thought. Along those lines, the Prusa contest actually does not require you to have a fully functioning build at time of submission. Some point after the submission deadline, they're going to judge this stuff. So I had technically, and maybe still in theory would have, some more time to fix all this stuff. And just update the project and assume that they're not judging my project until after I'm done updating. Which is sometime, they'll judge it sometimes between the end of the deadline and the time they announce their results. So in theory, I could have bodged this together, just gotten some pictures up and said, hey, this was totally legit at the time that the contest ended. Or, if I wanted to be a little less untruthful, a little less power gamey, I guess I want to say, gaming the system, then I could say, well, the concept works. It's just that I need to make some tweaks on it to iron out the details, and one of these things, look, I started it with 4 days left. I made something fairly complicated. This was a lot more complicated than I originally intended to. And hey, it was in a reasonable state. And by the time that anybody would go to download it at the end of the contest, it would be in a perfectly functional state. In theory, assuming that I actually had it done by that point. But I decided not to do that. And that's because I just felt like we were too far off the mark, really, to get there. I guess this would be a good point to say why we are off the mark. First off, as you may recall, when I was talking about the complexity of this at the very beginning in the very first video, I went back and I listened to the first 5 minutes or so, and I didn't say this part, but I thought there was a chance I wouldn't make it if I got too complex. I didn't actually enunciate that. I did say that time constraints was our biggest factor, and I said that a couple times. But I never actually considered the fact that I might get carried away here, make something a little too complex, and just plain not make it. And that's what ended up happening, and it was in my back of my mind that that was possible, but I didn't really make a big deal out of that. And that is one thing that killed us here. One thing that killed us is, if you go back and listen to the first episode, I was talking about doing stuff like having no hinges in this. Having it so simple that it just kind of folds and slides back and forth, and that's the extent of the transformation. And had I stuck to that, that would have been done a lot quicker, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I, more or less, I don't want to say I got carried away, but I wanted to do the design justice, and that's how we ended up where we're at right now. The other thing is that there are a number of design decisions that we made on the inside here that I recognized as being, and this might snap again because I didn't actually fix this part, but we made a number of design decisions that I knew I needed to fix but never actually did. And that, for example, is these arms and these legs, how they go in here. So one of these things, we knew this would happen. We knew that this would come over here, slide over here like this, and this would squeeze down in here, and we'd get it down there and whatever. And as you can see, it just popped off because I still don't have enough clearance in between the front flap here and the arm. And that highlights exactly the problem that should have been fixed. And it evidently, my phone is listening to me, so stop my phone. Let me go ahead and mute that. So I have the actual phone muted, but evidently the talk to me thing, let me just turn everything down. There we go. All right, so, and I'm gonna toss that all the way over in the corner. Hopefully that is far enough away so it doesn't pick me back up. What really needed to happen here, and would have cut down on the size of this whole entire project by a lot, is if I actually made these arms and these legs fully bendable, and they collapsed in. Because one of these deals, the difference in length between this and, actually, let me pull that other piece out. So the difference in length between this compared to if it was folded over and it was only this length, right, is significant. And that's how much we could, you see this distance right here? This is how much we could have shortened up the whole entire project by. Because, as you know from the CAD if you've been following, the length of this arm inside this body, as you can see, dictates how long the body needs to be. Now with the legs, we ended up taking advantage of this cab space, but at the same time, we wouldn't have needed to do that if we bent the legs. And that's something I never ended up doing, and I probably should have. So that is one major design decision I made that seriously impacted this. And because of those things, as you can see, the ratio of body to, for example, legs is just way too off. It's almost close enough, but this basically, if this would cut down and we did not have the rest of the cab here, then the legs in terms of thickness would probably be about right, but the body length would still be long. So even cutting the cab off, the body length is still a little too long for the length of the legs, and that was the killer, as I said. The other thing is without these bendings, that's why part of the reason why we needed to go up into the cab in order to get them up there. Again, as I mentioned in a later video, it seemed like we might, and let me just snap this off at this point. And one thing I found out about these tabs is that actually it's a little bit easier to slide them in and out as opposed to snap them in. So these tabs, and when we get this off, I'll show you. So these tabs that we made, originally they were snap-ins, so they snap straight down was my intention. The snap-in part I didn't really open up enough, so I found it was actually easier to just slide them in the sides, which worked out better, honestly. It's better to do that than to snap them down. But point being is I had suggested that, the reason we're in here, that when all this was put back together and we slid this arm out and back down, that maybe these legs could fit in between here, you know, and that would save us space. This right here is another problem. Again, this is actually a problem I could fix, you know, is that, well, first off, I got these legs facing the wrong direction because we could not, because of the shape of the trunk, flip them over onto the inside. If we could flip them over onto the inside, then that would solve part of the problem with the cab, because then that wouldn't be a problem. But if we go ahead and slide this up, I had suggested instead of sliding up, right, this is how they're going right now, that we maybe could slide them like this. Let me just get that tab back there. And as you can see, technically yes, but back to length of the body, that still takes up all that length. So even though that we could slide this below the arms right here, as you can see, it still takes up from there to there. So we're only saving like just the length of the head. So that doesn't actually save us on the length, that theory. So even though we could cut down the here, again, just reiterating, just providing additional evidence, this length of the body really is the as proportion to the arms and legs. Whoops. Really need to be shrunk down. Now, interesting thing here, you see this keeps on flipping apart. I don't know why, actually, because this first one broke because it was actually too stiff. And now I did trim some of the back out here to help with that, but I wasn't having this problem where it was popping out the slot right here on the first version. The first version held just fine. So don't take this, the fact that this just pops out right here, as evidence of a design thing. That's evidently my printer just being silly, I guess, because I did not have that problem on the first one, and I did not change this part of it. I just reprinted a replacement part. But point being is this is another flaw. So last major flaw, well, there are actually two more major flaws, I guess. So this head, the neck needed to be longer. We had space for the neck, but basically what happens here is, and the white clips will be at about this height, so you can take this as an example, as a direct example. As you can see, the head does not actually rotate past here. It actually needs to go up higher in order to get past this angle right here. That's not something we saw in the CAD. I looked at it obviously on stream, and I rotated that head around and said, it doesn't look like it's clipping at all. It looks like it's just barely clearing, but it's not. So if we take this angle right here, you can see maybe that direction you'll be able to see it, how much of a gap we have from the bottom of this to the red rider right here. Actually, I should do it like that. So that's the furthest point, and actually, we're not even... There we go. So that's the furthest point. That's how much of a gap. The rod should be right about there in relative to the bottom of that white piece. And you can see we're off by like 3 millimeters. So 3, maybe 4 millimeters. So the neck needed to be longer on this. That's another change that had to happen. And another reprint, in order to make it work. And then finally, this part back here. Now, this was just, frankly, me being stupid. Not so much the trunk. So the trunk, frankly, does not open up as much as we really need it to. It just barely works. The trunk hangs. We knew this from the CAD, and we knew this from looking at the models we were looking at, the VW Beetle models that we were looking at, that there's a bit of a gap between the cab right here, so you don't get the full length of the trunk. Plus, we shrunk this trunk down a little bit. I think, yeah, I do believe this trunk shrunk down a little bit because we had to drop the cab down. We had to shrink everything. Because we shrunk everything, the cab, total opening on the cab shrunk down a little bit. So this made it extremely difficult to bring the feet out because they just barely squeezed past. And on top of that, I did not change the thickness on this back wall. This is something I knew I needed to do, and I just never did it, which means that that 1 millimeter right there, let me see how difficult I can make this for you to see. This 1 millimeter tab, which is the only thing holding the trunk on, like that. So it slots in there. I've got this upside down right now, but you understand the point. That is the only thing holding the trunk flap there. And therefore, there we go. So that's the direction it's supposed to go. And therefore this broke on one of them, especially because the legs were pushing against it, trying to slide out. And on top of that, it doesn't have a good purchase. It's only, with this being 1 millimeter, that means that it only has 2 millimeters of space otherwise, because this is a 3 millimeter shell. So again, what really needed to happen here is I needed to thicken this whole entire back piece up. One reason why I didn't is because, as you see here, I got to angle this in order to get it slid in, right? You can see me twisting it in here. I was concerned that making this thicker would make that much more difficult, if not impossible. So that's one reason I didn't do it. And on the early prototypes, it actually worked. You know, I didn't have any real problem doing the trunk on the early prototype. So I decided it probably was not going to be an issue. But in between shrinking this down, which gave us so much less room to work with, and B, this just being not a very stable situation right here, it made the trunk very untenable. Finally, and that's all the design problems, right? Just the car is way too big for the shape of the robot. Now, frankly, on its own, I could have bailed here. This is one more thing I could have done. I could have bailed with the whole entire robot thing, done a quick design shift to get rid of everything except for the wheels and the body, and just said, hey, look, I made a car model, and just thrown that into the project, into the Flash contest. I'm not going to. I mean, that's A, major cop-out, and B, well, the design is turned out better than I expected it to, frankly. It's still maybe, I mean, not maybe, it's not as good as a lot of other actual good car CADs in the contest. So it's not like it would have won anyway, which, again, the point of the contest is to win. Like, there's, I don't know. I don't see much of a point, and this goes back to our original conversation, I don't see much of a point of entering it if there is literally no chance of winning, which was one of my concerns in the early part, because I saw models when we were doing this full time, when we were just constantly doing Flash contests. I saw models that, A, were winning only because they had a whole bunch of downloads to begin with, at least that's what it seemed like, and they were not particularly interesting or aesthetically pleasing models. Or B, frankly, I saw a couple that were just completely random, did not have any redeeming value, redeeming aspects as far as I could tell. Like, I just plain did not see the point of the model, what made it good. So, again, if there's no chance of winning because you can't either A, compete with people who have millions of downloads, not millions because Printables is young, but, you know, 8,000 downloads because I guess maybe they're on social media, or have a large social media following, and just, you know, plenty of people to vote for them, or B, are just randomly selected out of the hat by the judges for absolutely no reason. You know, that was my original complaint. So one of those things, I'm not going to present this as a model for the contest, because it just plain, it does not do the contest justice, in my opinion. Could it win randomly just because sometimes they choose models that are just randomly selected? Yes, it could possibly win just out of random luck, but it's not worth it to me. It's not worth winning out of random luck. So, that is all that. Now, that is everything. Well, I guess the last thing that went wrong here is this, and my computer's ran out of memory because I haven't cleared the old caches of streams in a while. But this is 90% of the support material from this. And that's not even including the trunk, because evidently Prusa did not output the trunk supports, which was kind of annoying. So this, I bring this up because this represents, what was it, 16 hours of printing? This, with all the supports and whatnot, was 16 hours of printing just for the cab, and therefore there was absolutely no way to reprint the cab in the amount of time, being as I got done printing the rest of the parts, again, sans the parts that need to be replaced. I got done printing all that half an hour before it was due, so before the contest closed. So yeah, that's that. So that's the whole entire big explanation. That's a 20-minute overview on what exactly happened with this, why it wasn't entered in the contest, and the many things that are wrong with it. Now, all that being said, I do want to redo this project. And obviously this would not be for the Prusa contest since that's already over. I want to do this sheerly out of, I really liked doing this. It was a fun project, and I want to do it right. Instead of rushing through it in 4 days, you know, losing sleep over it, I'm going to take my time with it, and we are going to redesign this to do better. okay, to be a better project. So that is my plan moving forward, and we are going to start that today. Now that I have all the preamble out of the way, we will go ahead and we will start redesigning this from the ground up and hop into Fusion. Let's go. So here is the previous model. I guess while we're in here, one thing to mention that you didn't know about is I had obviously time to... sorry, one second. I had time to do some CAD, just extra CAD that didn't need to be printed while everything was printing. So I made up these blank head pieces. So this one, as you can see, is, well, we have straight up a blank face right here. So in theory, you could just plug in a face on the front there and use that as a substitute. And then we have different hole positions. I'll just click on all holes here. So you have one that does just the sides. So if we come back to the desktop really quick, camera. So that's how I did this one. These antennas are actually plugged into the side of the angry robot face. And just for the record, one reason why you can't see the teeth very well is just I should have either done more relief on those, or instead of relieving them, extruded them out so that they would contrast more. They are barely visible here in my hands, so the fact that you can't see them on the camera is frankly, well, the fact that you can barely see them if I hold it directly, you know, at the exact right lighting is actually pretty impressive, but they did not turn out terribly well. However, point being is I added in those extra things to make the robot more customizable. So that was a neat little side project I did while everything was printing, since all I have to do is supply those STLs, you know? And I figured, you know, that's no big deal. If I just supply STLs so that people can customize it, then we're good, you know, there's that works. The ones on the sides obviously are for attachments on the sides, and then the one on top I figured could be like hats and stuff like that. Hats, crowns, etc, etc, etc. Helmets. And the one in front, in case you didn't figure it out, is just for different faces. So you can make a face, for example, with like a 1mm thick backing on it, and then a peg, and then just plug it straight in, and it will sit reasonably flush, you know, relatively flush to the rest of it, since it's only like a 1mm backing. And if you wanted to, you can even glue it down to make sure that it is as flush as possible. So that was the idea here. That's one, like I said, one other thing that I added on was the opportunity for accessories. So. All right, with the redesign, this is something I was thinking about because, again, the biggest problem with it is the car body, right? Well, not the biggest. Part of the problem is the car body, and the fact that we have this huge trunk caboose right here, this whole huge cab. It's a cab, but basically it looks like a butt, you know, when the robot is sitting up here. When the robot's standing up, this, in that case, would be his butt. So, you know, it's a huge butt, and it really off balances the thing. So one thing I was thinking, and that I'm getting to here, is in theory I could just replace this whole entire model right here. This whole entire car body could just get replaced with something else, and we could keep the innards. Now, obviously, that doesn't necessarily work if we do this. However, if we do a redesign, which I am talking about right now, that's what we're talking about right now, we could fix this so that all this stuff folds up into a neat little package and works off of a very simple mechanism. And we could create a frame, okay, that all of this plugs into, just a skeletal frame. And then you could snap onto that skeletal frame any car body. You could do a car body, you could do a truck body, you know, whatever you want. So long as we keep everything neat and enclosed in here, then it really just comes down to you create the car body, and then maybe the only thing you got to modify is the area the head comes out. You just got to create a appropriate slot for the front cover. So if let's see, where am I at? This is car body, this part right here. So you just got to cut out an appropriate slot right here, which looks like this, you know? So we could have a set design pattern for this right here, for this round part. And then all you got to do is butt that up to, or connect that to, one way or another, to the front of your car, cut it out, you know, just, for example, take a sketch right here, project out this ring, and then project out X, and then make a box X wide for the neck to fit in, and then just cut that out, and etc. You're done. So we can make that pretty simple, point being. So yeah, that is the idea. So, and that is the idea. That's what we're going to be working on. One other minor problem. Oh wait, I'm already in here. What am I doing? Let me turn these lights off because evidently they're killing my brain and making me not think. One other minor problem that came up, and actually, this is kind of hilarious. So somehow I ended up with so over here, transforming. Where'd that go? Huh. Okay, so remember the car body I had? Somehow we lost the all the details on it, which is something I just realized, which is hilarious. Let's see. This guy. Yeah, let's open the recovery, I guess. Nope, not it. Don't save. Alright. So evidently something happened there. You saw there was that file recovery there. So evidently something happened there and we lost all these details. But these rims, I didn't compensate, for the record, on the axles. That would have been a relatively easy fix, right? I just got to make the axles longer. And we have enough space on the inside here between these two axles to extend them into the middle. The reason for that is a problem is that if I take these, and I turned all the joints off. So let's see if we can find that joint really quick. Car body joints. Not seeing it. So where is the transformation? Joints, there we go. So, as you can see, and let me just zoom in here to get a finer. So right about there is where, actually a little less than that even. There we go. So that's as far out as that extends. Obviously this peg right here, whoops, this peg right here should be following it. But the point being is that without extending the arm out, without extending -19, stop fighting me. So we extend this out to right about there, and then and that's stuck there. So I'm not going to be able to show this, but the arm ends up overlapping this thing, because this hub, because we didn't have that in the original thing, and these axles were only just so long. So point being is that had to be taken into consideration and was not. However, it was an easy fix. I did not do that easy fix because even without the easy fix, all it really means is that the arms cannot rotate down. So if I take these arms and just, that is the legs, that is, I guess, the wheel. So it's this guy. All right, well, they're moving backwards, but you get the idea. So long as I just rotate the arm yay far, then it doesn't actually hit the wheel well. So that just means that the arm cannot stay flush against the body. It's always pointing forward a little bit. That's why I didn't bother fixing it, because in theory, if I was going to submit with all the errors in there, then it was just a very minor fix that wouldn't show up in the pic. It's an error that would not show up in the pictures that I would take of the model, right, for the submission. And then I could fix it in the CAD. The CAD could be fixed really easily, and the picture would not show that it's an issue, necessarily speaking, unless somebody was paying a lot of attention. So, let's see. I mean, at this point, we are just, you know, moving on. I don't think there's anything else to say. Let's see. So, I've said so way too many times today. Therefore, continuing on, let's think of some more synonyms. Having said that, that being stated, all those things taken into consideration, for the new design, since it's going to work off a skeletal framework that then you attach to, that's all we're going to be designing. And with this model, let's roll all the way back here, because I'm pretty sure we started, if I recall correctly, so there's the wheels. We started with the wheels, but I believe the second thing we did was the transformation. Yeah, that's exactly it. The second thing we did was start working on the transformation. Oh, actually, I have that. Well, I guess I had that only because that is not really necessary. So, yeah, we'll probably work, point being, where I was going with this is we'll probably work in the same-ish order with the exception of the wheels. With the exception of the wheels, we'll probably work with the transformations first, setting up the transformations, and then move on from there. So I guess just getting started is the only thing to do. Yep, can't think of anything else to start to talk about, so let's go ahead and close this to get it out of the way. The one question I have that I did not really answer, have not really answered, is whether or not this whole entire flap idea on the front half is a good idea or not. So I keep on moving this flap further and further back. Wait for the computer to catch up. I keep on moving this flap further and further back towards the back. And the fact of the matter is that once we get these arms folded up, then it can start shrinking down a bit, get more like to half. But there are other ways to do it. So whether or not having the pop-out flap is the best way, especially if we're going to take our time here and really consider our options, is a valid question. So for example, the undercarriage, one way I've seen it done is that the hinge, instead of this being attached to the wheels, or even with this being attached to the wheels, there's a hinge along this edge right here. Along this edge right here is a hinge, and then the front body is cut, so there's a hole, kind of like I have a hole cut out here, but it's not a cut through, it's just a flap that then rotates on that hinge out, and then the model kind of has these wings basically on the back of the arms, which is originally the undercarriage. So that is another option to follow that is perhaps a little bit easier. One reason why that is preferable is with these guys right here, right? Sliding them in and out on the arms, because they're loose and because they're plastic, they do tend to cant a little bit. Here, we'll go ahead and toss the camera back on while I'm playing with this. As soon as I get the lights back on. Lights back on, camera coming on. So, while I'm transforming this, right, we have this rotation, which is part of the reason for the flap, in order to get the arm to clear the edge here. So the arm needs to clear this edge here. Part of the trouble here is that this arm is not quite long enough. I should have given this arm a little bit more play, slid this bar a little bit farther back. But even at that, you know, even if we assume that we have enough space to move here, we still have this little bit of problem with when we're moving this, the whole entire thing wants to tilt, right? It wants to cant and get jammed up. So that is one problem we avoid if it is just a flap flipping on the front hand side. And furthermore, these wheels are then a little bit more stable because they're also not on. You can see how this is just pivoting on here. So this is supposed to hold the back end of this. In theory, is hopefully supposed to stay rigid. However, it won't because this is not rigid on the shaft. It has play on the shaft. And this is not thick enough. The capture point right here is not thick enough to take out much more slack as well. So we can avoid some of that with this alternative method. So maybe we start designing in that with that idea in place. And I guess the only thing to do is just to start playing with it and see what happens. So where do we start with? I think we probably start from the top view. So I'm going to call this front. Let's see. So this whole entire thing is going to be a skeleton design. For that reason, I don't think I need this in any other sub-component. I think this can be a top level, relatively top level, relative to, you know, the actual component itself. So I'm going to call this front wheel transformation. And we'll start designing here. And let's see, this is the front, that's the top. The last design, as always, for some reason I can never quite get the design. Yeah, well, I shouldn't say I always. Sometimes I do not pay enough attention, and the design ends up pointing in the wrong direction, so it'll be pointing right instead of towards the front, based on how I originally designed it, you know, the orientation that I originally designed it in. This time will not be one of those times. We'll do this right. So, the previous car, we had, if I recall correctly, 75 and, well, I mean, it's one of those things. Let's just look at it. Let's see. The wheels are spaced out. All right, so 100 and 100. That is, this is not 100 and 100 though. No, I guess the extra length comes from, so it's 100 across this way, and 100. So this, in theory, is a square right here between the wheels, which looks about right. So yeah, I do believe that is right. But basically, all cars are going to have this space in front and behind, if not more. So I'm thinking of shrinking this all down. The car design shape itself, I think, is probably about relatively correct for most car designs. A truck obviously would look a bit different because the bed, the bed relatively, yeah, I mean, so you'd want a longer wheelbase on the truck, so it'd actually be in the middle is where you make your change, as opposed to at the ends. The front end, well, I mean, a lot of trucks do have the larger engine block up here. So, truck probably would extend out the front a little bit more, but mostly Yeah, maybe a little bit more on the tail and a little bit more in the middle and a little bit more in front. It's probably how you get to a trunk profile. Point being is, relative to the arms and legs we have, even if we shrunk down the thickness, the length is not quite right. And yet, with the length being not quite right, you know, the length being a little too long, the width of it seems about right. That's my biggest problem right here that I'm getting at, is even if I take this, right? So I take this and shrink this down, just drag this part back to here, let's say. I kind of want to keep the width the same. So instead of shrinking down diagonally, which is how you normally do it, right? You shrink down proportionately on the left or the X and Y here. I almost only want to shrink down the X. This is my X right here. So I almost want to just shrink down my X here. However, I'm just a little concerned that might look a little odd, a little stout, let's say. So I'm kind of jumping back and forth between doing what I should do, which is drop this down to like 30-30, let's say. And only dropping it down 30 and let's see, my X was that direction. So only dropping it down 30 in this direction and leaving the wheel base, the left and right hand side, the passenger to the width of the car, I guess I should say. The width of the car at 100 millimeters. You know what? For the time being, I think that is what I'll do. I'll do this change right here. And again, we're not modifying this design, but just to demonstrate, shrink down the overall size by a proportionate amount, 30-30. I think that's where we're going to be at. So there's 30. This is the hinge right here. Well, I had 30 to the wheel. So if that's 30 to the wheel, then this would actually be the wheel right here. The wheels on this guy, so they look right for the old style Beetle, but a more modern car would have a slightly smaller wheel. So I guess I assume, let's see, if my wheels were 10 or they were 25 originally, and then I bumped them up, I extrude them out bigger, that's gonna break everything. Prepare for everything to be broken as soon as my computer catches up. Alright, and this diameter is 1735. So we went from 25 to 35, which is 10 millimeters, less than half an inch. So yeah, I think I'll just start out at 25. I think 25 diameter is fine. So we'll do that, 25 diameter on the wheel. And what was my thickness here? I didn't actually change the thickness, so reset, face to face, 12. All right, so about half that. All right, so that's the where the wheel's gonna go. Let's see, we're looking at it top down right now. Oh, I shouldn't be looking at it top down though. Yeah, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Control Z. Remember how I made a big old show of saying, oh, we are going to design this in the correct orientation? I did not design this in the correct orientation. Alright. So here's my wheel. 25. 10. 30. There we go. We're back to where we were. Didn't lose any time at all. No time lost at all. Alright. So there's my wheel. This is looking from the front of the car right now. The hinge is going to actually be over here. Right? No, wait, that doesn't make sense. Wait, how did that work? I recall it splitting over here. I recall it splitting right here. And then the wheel... The arm was right here. So the split was right there. The arm was right there. As I recall it. Maybe not right there. Maybe like right here. In line with the split. But the wheel gets in the way if we rotate that out. And... Oh, you know what it was? I'm getting this backwards. I think I'm getting this... No, I'm not. Oh, no, wait. Wait. I was thinking for a minute there when I said I got it backwards. And I probably did see this design. Yes. Okay. So the door... So, let's just call this the door. The door rotates up. The arm rotates out. And then the chest closes back up. Dang, it has been a long time. I'm missing one step here. Arm rotates up. Actually, if the wheel goes on the inside, the wheel can't fit on the inside. Wheel does not fit on the inside. I was thinking that if the arm is here and I put the hinge part here, so if I actually put the hinge part here, then the arm ends up, after transformation, over here. Right there. Assume everything is equal sized. The door opens up in order to make clearance for this rotation right here. That, actually... I can't tell where this is. Is this guy right here? Yeah, I think that guy's right there. So this rotation right here between that and that. So this rotates around this circle right here, which obviously takes this point out around the wheel. So the wheel and the door open up, and then this rotates. And then the arm is out front, but that's not how I remember it. I seem to remember... Oh, unless the wheel was above the arm. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe. Finish. So this is the front. So let's go bottom. There's the bottom. The wheel is now right here. I guess I'll just... That's the wheel we just saw, right? Wheel's right there. Maybe the arm rotated out below, behind the wheel. So this whole entire piece right here, this whole entire chest piece, hinged, opened up, the arm rotated out on the door. Maybe that's what I'm missing. So the door opened up to allow the arm out, and then, or maybe just part of the door opened up for the arm to come out. The arm came out, and then this closed back in front of it. I think that's what it was. I do think that was what it was. and then the wheel was basically a shoulder piece, and then we had the head right here, and then the whole entire front end, engine block, etc., was like this around the head in this version. So instead of the head coming out up here above the engine, the head was down here, I think, because this is the shoulder right here and this is the arm. In this version that I'm remembering, I think this was it. And I think this front engine block in some models either folded backwards somehow or rotated around, if I'm remembering correctly. So this, let's get finished. So if I go here, this is the engine block here, right? So normally the engine block is, don't do that to me, and the front end engine block, etc. So this is what it normally looks like. But during transformation, I think some of them just opened up right here for the head to pop out. But I think other ones, if I recall correctly, ended up transforming such that either it folded backwards like this. Okay, so that's the front end right now, right there, bumper right there. Or, yeah, actually, I don't remember this other one. Or, I shouldn't say I don't remember, but I don't actually have a good memory at any rate of this one. Or it spun in such a way that it ended up back here. Just slide this down, you know? And then the head was on this part. So that's the head right there. And that would normally be inside the car because this is the bumper. So if we spun this around, rotate it kind of 360, 2 dimensions, okay? Or I guess 180, 90 degrees and 90 degrees in 2 dimensions. Then you can see how this head then would be inside the body of the car. For some reason, I think I might have seen one model like that, but I don't really remember that one, where it swiveled and then rotated over. I think I recall more. So on the cheapest ones, I think it was just a matter of the head popping out right here. And you just kind of had this weird block around the head that you just pretended wasn't there. And otherwise, like I said, I think it just folded over backwards, which was a little bit awkward, but whatever. Alright, so I think I know where I'm going with this now. So if this is... Oh, actually, we are on the correct plane. We're just facing the back and front instead of the front. Alright. Just needed a minute to think there. I don't think I actually want to start out on this sketch. I was gonna draw the hinges in first. No, I guess I probably should draw the hinges in first. Alright. So, at this point, the arm is gonna be below this plane that we're on right now. Let me modify parameters. Actually, you know what? I'll do this here. Oh, that's right. This doesn't work anymore, does it? Yeah, Fusion got rid of that one, annoyingly. What are these? That's okay, so these are just filters. Okay, gotcha. Oh, sort in timeline order. That's interesting. All right, well, we got to do a user. So wheel dia 25. Wheel thickness 10, just because we're here. What am I calling this? Width between wheels, median width. Oh, this is not a new parameter. There we go. And that would be 30 because that's center to wheel, center to wheel. Actually, let me... Where's my comment? There we go. Okay. So we'll just update this. And that should have been, now that I'm paying attention, 60. There we go. Wheel dia, wheel thickness. All right, so there we go. We have functions. So this is going to be my hinge right here. I don't think there's any problem with going with the 5mm that we had before. We'll go ahead and just do that. Let's go ahead and just do this properly since we're spending time on this. Default wall thickness. Make the default wall thickness 3, which is a little thicker than I was doing. I was doing 2 in some places. And we'll stop there for the moment. Default hinge style. Default wall thickness. And then to snap these two together, actually it was this one. Let's see. Should I do... So before on the other design, let me delete this. On the other design, we're sitting it this way, right? And picking a number here. Okay, yeah, that's the only reason why. I was gonna say that should be constrained at that point, but do we like that better? I don't like that actually as much as what happened. Oh no. Alright, I am watching the... So you guys just saw that. On stream, it looks like. Huh. So I see 0 dropped frames. And it looks like we're still streaming. Fascinating. Alright, well, I will continue on assuming that this is still getting out. Let's see. Now that I got my mouse back over here. Just watching the preview window. Okay. Well, it looks like we're still alive, so I like better setting the opening width here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So we'll go ahead and set that up. Default hinge snap in. And we'll set that to 3 to start out with and see what happens. Actually, you know what? I think I'll do 2.5 because back to... Well, let's check this one really quick. This one was not snapping in terribly well. Let's see, there we go. So let me check what the distance is here. This one, obviously, when we printed, was a bit loose the second time. The first time it was fine. Interesting, that's 3.87. Oh yeah, that's right, because we're setting depth rather than... So I guess that makes sense. So we need tighter than 3.87, so 3 sounds like a good starting point for us to try out. I guess I will make this guy, whoops, not that guy, that guy, construction line. Let's see, we're in the front of the car, this is here. Yeah, I think this is fine right here. We will not be extruding from this plane right here, for the record, because the hinge goes below the wheel, and I'm going to position the front axle. And for the record, I don't know what was wrong with me. Again, I was rushing and sleep deprived for most of that stream session series. I kept on writing AXEL instead of AXLE. If you look at the other model, I fixed that, but that was a pretty derp on my part. So I would like to point that out and admit to my wrongdoings, my failures. For this, so the hinges, the flap down here can frankly be relatively large, right? It can take up relatively large amount of space in here. We could, in theory, because I'm pretty comfortable with this 3mm wall thickness, we could, in theory, actually, that's not tangent. We could, in theory, bump this right up to there, at which point when we mirror this, this guy will overlap with that, like that, okay? Actually, no, I don't like that. So all I was getting at is I'm willing to bring this as close as we feel comfortable. This is where I was going to put it. As you can see, this now results in actually a 6mm, so if I just equals this out, this will end up in a 6mm wall in the center. I think I'm comfortable with that. My point that I was getting at is that we could get tighter. We could overlap these circles instead and only have a 3mm is what I was going to say. So in which case this we would, well, a couple different ways, right? There's always a million and a half ways to skin a cat, but we could set this for, 1.5 right here and do the same thing over here and then have these circles intersect this point, coinciding this point. That's a possibility. Then we'd have a 3mm strip in the center of the car that is stable. And again, I'm pretty comfortable with that, but I think for the time being, I'll go ahead and leave us a 6mm strip down the center of the undercarriage to hold everything together. The arm, hopefully, does not extend. Well, actually, we're probably going to use the same profile for the arm. So the profile on the arm was... Whoops, not that one. Actually, we have parameters for that. Arm thickness. Arm. Alright, looks like we only have arm thickness, which is 15. I guess I may as well... Where's the lower part of my arm that flopped off? There it is. Let me just do a quick spot check on this with the calipers. If it's 15 by 15... 15 by 15. Okay, so we have 15 square arms. So I guess I will just go ahead and type those up right quick. Alright, so if we're keeping the same dimensions on the arm, let's just mark that out really quick. Alright, so, and that's what I was checking. Let's see. It was you? Which one of you guys is stuck on... What the heck did I connect to? This line. Point being is that it doesn't look to me like we have enough room for the arm in here. Arm, and the length goes away from us. It goes along the y-axis at this point, for the record. So that's why it's 15 and 15. But assuming that we have a little bit of space from the axle, as you can see, we don't have enough space in here. So it looks like I will have to open up the car width by a little bit in order to fit the arm at the same size. I want to base it off of the arm sizes because I think the arm and length size is pretty good for a larger size toy. This isn't going to be a small transformer. Like, they used to make some, I seem to recall some metal ones that were close to Hot Wheel size, maybe a bit larger, but we're going much larger than that. I mean, not much. Like, it's not going to be like Megazord sized, but point being. All right, so if we add another, what do we think we want to add? So we're less than probably 1.5 here. So we could take this up to 65 and be safe. Although, let's see. This arm is going to need a hinge. It's going to need to be on a hinge kind of thing. Does it though? Yeah, its hinge actually, I think it's going to be back here. And then it's going to go out the side of the door. Actually, no. How did that work? All right, we're going to hang out there. We're going to hang out there and see what happens. Okay. So this is where we're at. I don't need this guy. This guy was just for demonstration purposes. Delete. This sketch is wheel placement, wheel and hinge placement. All right, finish. And now I'm going to go over to the left. And again, the front axle will be on center. So, on the origin, I should say. The front axle will be sketch point. Now, which one of these is the origin and which one of these is my actual sketch point? Hopefully that's my actual sketch point and not the sketch origin. Again, I wish Fusion didn't have sketch origins. They actually seem to cause more trouble to me than is reasonable. You can always, if you wanted some kind of origin, you could always project out the actual origin from here, the global origin, if you wanted an origin to anchor to. So I don't see why there is a sketch origin. But that's just me complaining again. This is wheel dia. And let's see, axle size. yeah, there you go. Axle dia. What did we have here? Huh. Am I about to lose power? Looks like it, just a flicker. Let's see. The axle dia, because I'm too lazy to hop over to the other CAD, was 10 millimeters. 10 millimeters actually only looks good on these wheels, frankly, so maybe I'll cut this down too. So if this was 10 and the wheels were 35, that's about what? 35 divided by 5 is 7. So 7 2/7. Is that right? 2/7. I'm just thinking of setting this based off of wheel dia then. 2/7, 3/7. Trying to figure out. Let me grab the calculator really quick. Yeah, okay. So I was thinking about going a third is what I was just wasn't sure with between 2 sevens and 3 sevens whether or not a third fell in there. And a third does fall in there. So we can do wheel dia divided by 3. Maybe math.floor that. Floor. Uh-huh. Oh, that's right. It is just a floor infusion. Axle dia, and I'm still doing the EL because I'm a dirt face. Alright. Does that look reasonable? Well, it is the axle. It's not the actual hub, right? It's not the, or not the hub, but well, I mean, it's not the hub, technically speaking, and it's not the, hub cap, rather, is the word I was actually looking for. Which is an interesting idea. We could, let's see, what do we want to make this? Let's default to 5 for the time being. This does make it more difficult to print. I was going to, we can put a hole in the middle. Yeah, we can put a hole in the middle instead. So options for hubcaps we can incorporate into this. So we'll make this a hole right here and go from there. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. So this is wheel design. Let's extrude this. The wheel will be, actually no, yes, the wheel is that. And origin, we're fine from doing it from the profile. Actually, you know what? Let's be a little silly here. I'm cool with being a little silly. This offset is minus wheel thickness, median between wheels divided by 2 plus wheel thickness divided by 2. And everything is minus right here, but you know, whatever. Actually, you know what? I get, well, sorry. I guess we may as well not fight it, right? Let's not fight it. Wheel thickness. All right. Now, can I inspect the midpoint of this? I can't. All right. We'll just take a sketch to double check ourselves really quick. I'm assuming I did the math right there, but no, features. Okay. What? Fusion, you ridiculous. All right, there. Intersect, there and there. I cancel that because I'm a derp and I wanted bodies. I guess that doesn't make much of a difference. Never mind. I forgot. We have a hole in the center of the body, so it actually doesn't make a difference. So I gotta draw these guys in anyway. And again, this is just me double checking that I did my math correct on that guy. There. And now this should be 85. We're supposed to be at 65. Ah, I see what I did wrong. Yeah, we'll keep this for a second. We'll come back here to this, and then we will minus the wheel thickness divided by 2. There we go. Now let's come back and check our sketch. Now we're at 65. Excellent. Okay. Good. Good thing I checked my math. All right. Oh, and I just undid that because I was undoing everything. Whoops. Control Y. Actually, no, don't Control Y. Because what I should be doing... Yeah, all right. We will redo that. We're just going to undo all this because I was rushing and we want a new component. Wheels And since we are doing this, since we already backed up this far, there's my left. So we will go medium between wheels minus wheel thickness divided by 2. And this is also divided by 2. Actually, if this is also divided by 2, then math would suggest that we can do this. That is how math in theory works. Unless I'm a derp face, but we will find that out in just a moment. Alright. Project out that line, the axle line. Okay. It looks like I am back, so remember to self. Remember to go back and cut out any middle space. Now on the bright side, good news, bad news. On the bright side, and actually this is funny. So Fusion, there's a few things here. One, it looks like some of my things changed in Fusion after, so, all right, slow up, let me back up. Things happened. You'll recall a few minutes ago, I said, wait, is the power going out? Maybe it's just me. Power did go out. So when I came back on, Fusion was acting funny. And it seemed to be missing some, yeah, so for example, it's all the way back there. So Fusion seems to have somehow lost some of my settings. For example, I don't normally have the grid visible at this point. Question mark? I don't believe I normally do. Display settings. Ground pane. So that's pretty interesting. Huh. Also, all these notifications came up. Meanwhile, on my streaming software, yeah, I got you, Fusion. Yeah, so I got all this notifications all of a sudden that I already had seen just randomly show back up again. My streaming software forgot my yeah, look at this. All my shortcuts are gone. This is fascinating. All right, you know what? I am going to close Fusion. Let's see what happens. Yeah, no, go away. So evidently something serious, and this was me just while I was waiting for everything to boot up, clearing hard drive space. So it looks like I lost a bunch of settings somehow. So Fusion. I'm going to reboot Fusion and see if that happens. My streaming software, as I was saying, I had to reload the profile, whatever you call it, presets on my streaming profile, or my streaming software, because that had also forgotten everything. Fortunately, I have a backup file for that, although it's a little outdated, so I'm not sure what exactly it forgot to bring over. Yeah. See, I don't think the layout grid. Cancel. Something's not right here. I don't have any of my profiles. Huh. Any of my whatchamacallits. Yeah, my toolbar up here is not correct. Now the funny thing is that this should have sunk from my settings, from my cloud profile, is the weird thing. So, because I know that when I make changes on one user, it propagates to the other user. So I don't know what went wrong here. I mean, clearly, yeah. Preferences. No. I'm trying to find a setting to resync my profile. And it is not showing up. Yeah, I don't see anything. So, that's rather annoying. The other bad thing that happened here is that sketch. See, part of me doesn't even want to do this right now because I'm afraid it's going to screw up my other profiles. Like when I hop on the other user, I'm thinking this is going to get rid of the settings on the other profile. Like, why is something is just visually not right here. I'm not sure what. The final problem, which is why you don't see anything here, is that it did not do an autosave. It did not do a recovery file for the project that we're working on. I'm assuming because we had not saved it already. So, you know what? I'm going to hop up here. New project. Transforming robot toys. Transforming robot car base. All right, so in theory, now that I've saved this file, it should auto save as we expected before. Yeah. So yes, I am thrown off quite a bit by this. Oh shoot, that's not my right triangle. How do I remove you? How do I delete you? I don't want you here. Rectangle. So that's this guy. So I hit X there, and then I was using 3-point, right? Yes, I was using 3-point. Cool. Man, this stinks. All right, well, we will recover. Wheel dia is 25. Median wheel width, I can't remember what I actually called that last time. Median wheel distance, center to center of wheels, and this was 65. And then wheel thickness was 10. Default hinge dia is 5. Default hinge snap-in was 3. What was the axle? Whoops. Dia, you get back to no. All right, you know what? Length. Yes, length is what I wanted. Millimeters. There we go. And this was wheel dia divide by 3, and that was floor. Fusion. Okay. Almost there. I think I'm missing one more. I feel like I'm missing one more parameter, but I guess we're close enough to recover it. Oh, arm thickness. That's what it was. Whoops, not move copy. Arm square size. And this was 10. Yeah, I have it right here. I thought I had it right here. What did I do with it? Where'd my arm go? What? All right, well, I'm gonna measure this really quick. All right, maybe it was 15. The legs actually look like, oh, there it is. It was underneath my chair. Evidently it fell when I got up. All right, 15. All right. 15. All right. And we will recover quickly. Wheel thickness. Wheel diameter. Median. Divide by 2. And then hinge, default hinge dia, wall thickness. Oh, we don't have wall thickness yet. There we go. And we had that, quinky dink with that. And then finally we have this guy. That, and tangent. Okay, and snap in. All right. There we go. And turn this solid again. There we go. Finish. So that was Control Z, wheel and arm hinge placement, front wheel and arm hinge placement, and then we had a new component, wheels, and what is going on here? So there is that's the bottom, right? Yes, that's the bottom. Okay, there's the front. There's the left. And there we go. All right. Project. And actually, I don't think I'm going to log out of Fusion here. I think I'm going to start my other user out once we're done here. And make sure that's up and running and see whether or not that has a problem with the profiles. And so long as that does not have, then I'll exit this one first, make sure to save something in the other one, and then exit the other one second. And hopefully that will get everything back to how I need it or how I want it. Get all my preferences back in. There we go. And then finally, actually, I'm going to do it on the wheel itself. Quinky dink is what I want. Oops, no, quinky dink is not what I want. All right. There we go. Now I want quinky dink. All right. And finally, we get this construction up here. There is, turn that sketch off. Sketch off. There's that, and then we have median wheel minus wheel thickness divided by 2. Okay, and that is inside of right wheel. This is front wheel design, and then we extrude that from object, that wheel thickness. I think that's correct. And this is going to be a new component. You can go away. Front right wheel. There we go. All right, cool. And we are caught up. We are officially caught up. Okay, I think that was maybe 15 minutes from the time I got done rambling. 15 minutes to get caught up. Maybe less than that. Maybe it was only 10. But regardless, time to move on to, let's see. we'll do the undercarriage, we'll do the flap, the front flap, front arm flap. I think we just do the front arm flap to start out with, and then do the rest of the undercarriage afterwards. We can, let's see, how do we want to do this? Because this is supposed to be a skeletal framework, I think I kind of want to maybe just put a rim around it and not extrude out the entire nose of the vehicle, because the shape of the nose of the vehicle may be different depending on how you want to build it, right? That's a consideration, except for the fact that the whole entire head mechanism should be built in. So maybe we include that too, and then from there leave it open to interpretation. So I think that's what we'll do. So let's go ahead and new component undercarriage. This is the front, that is the bottom. So we'll go on the bottom. We will project out the wheel. We will, that's my sketch. That's not the sketch I wanted. There we go. That's the sketch I wanted. Okay. So obviously my sketch is on the wrong side here. I guess I will redo that really quick. Finish, come back here. We can do this. Do this. Do this, median, divide by 2, and then just take this. Which one are you? That's the outside, so that's this guy. Yeah, there we go. Grab that. There. Okay. And now we're good. Now we're on the right hand side, literally right hand side. Okay, cool. Cool. Come back to this sketch. This is the bottom. Shoot. All right. Well, we made a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. We made a mistake. Because this sketch was not supposed to be on the bottom. It's supposed to be on the front. All right, Control Z. Redefine sketch plane. Origin. Front. There we go. Okay. Let's see if and how much that broke. All right, not seeing any greens. Not seeing any greens is good. Finish. Not seeing any green. No green. All right, no green there. So Control Z instead of finish. So I think we're fine now. I think that was an easy enough fix. Now from here on the bottom and front right. Yes. All right, cool. Okay. So that's our hinge right there. So what we want is a solid part here. So we will go ahead and grab this guy. We already grabbed that guy. I guess I'll grab that guy too. And that's all we need. Well, I mean, that's like everything we have to begin with, but that's all we need right now. This will be construction lines, and then the flap will be, we'll give ourselves a little bit offset here. So the flap's going to be down here. The flap goes all the way to the outside of the car, and the outside of the car is above the wheel, so this should be collinear right here. And then we can go ahead and give ourselves the offset here, which we can make like 3 millimeters is fine. And then this is solid right here. So what we want to do is we want to take a rectangle collinear with that. Collinear with that. It wants to be coincidence specifically with this one sketch point. I just don't know which. Yeah, all right, that sketch point. That's the one I wanted. And this line must be up to the end of the hinge right there. And that should be fine. We may need to adjust that in the future, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem to adjust in the future after the fact. So that connects there. Everything up here is going to be solid and not moving. I'm going to slide this over because I'm pretty sure I had this. So delete that. Let's make sure that we are well, yeah, we're going to be collinear here. So there's that. We can have a 3 millimeter offset here as well for the wheel well. This outside is going to be there, collinear with the center point, and then the head is going to be, so probably what's going to happen here is we'll have at least this much, so that's the end of the wheel well, and then the head is going to be somewhere up here. I'm just not sure where, so I won't bother with that. So this is kind of the minimum that we want for the body thus far. This guy right here, okay, yes, this guy's coming down here. So this guy is going to just give us our reference for the flap. The length of the flap, so back to our arm, is going to be folded in half. So the arm length here on this other guy, including the fist, because we need to include the fist. Actually, I guess I will use the arm length from the elbow to the end of the fist. Makes sense. So the forearm to the end of the fist is 60 millimeters. I probably should just break that up. So 45, and the fist was 15 then in that case. 45 and 15 is 60. So let's get those parameters in here. Forearm length is 45. Fist length is 15. And then we can do from here to there forearm length plus fist length, because if we fold that up on top of the bicep, the upper arm, that is probably going to be longer than the upper arm, and therefore, actually no, that needs to be shorter than the upper arm because it's going to fold up. Yeah, it's going to fold up. So unless we do something funny with like spinning it or something like that, then that has to be our longest, or that has to be our shortest distance or equal to the upper arm. So I guess we'll leave this at that right now. Bless me. And then we'll go ahead and toss in like just a little bit of buffer room just to give ourselves a little extra space, which is like 3 times 2. Okay. And that is the size of our flap. So this right here is our flap. All right, cool. So that's our flap. The hinge is going to be right here in the middle. Not really in the middle, like right there along that line, centered along that line. Or no, I'm sorry. The hinge is going to be right there. So I guess we actually want to draw a line in here. So make sure this is on that and then connect it up here. So this whole entire part right here will be moving, and that will be connected in this hinge right here in the middle. And then this opens up towards the chest. The arm rotates out in a way we'll figure out. And then the arm will end up sitting out here, which means that the arm is going to have a connection point going something like this to perhaps an inside hinge to rotate out on. And again, that I guess will be going inside the door. I guess we'll make a little pocket in the door for that to sit in. All right. Now this 66 millimeters is actually because our median between wheel wells is only 65. So this is getting a bit long already. Even, wow, okay. No, all right, so I'm just looking at the car itself. And we might be able to get away with this. So the yeah, it's tough. I was thinking maybe instead of this, maybe we do this at forearm length plus fist plus 3. But that would then mean that this whole entire thing has to open up here, which it can technically do, especially if the head is only. So let's see. Let's just draw this out really quick for the sake of argument. So this is then at this point a whole hinge. And then the head has to be, I was thinking the head was going to end up, well, I did say the head the head would be above the wheel well. So yeah, actually that would work. That would work if we open this whole entire thing out. The shoulder is right here. The forearm, if the forearm is like yay big, and then the forearm plus fist is like yay big, then actually we can. All right, so what's the forearm? What do we got for a forearm here? I mean, not a forearm, an upper arm. Upper arm to the point of the hinge, whatever hinge it's on, is about 30. So of pivot is 30. Okay, so the pivot is right here, let's say. So there's the pivot, and then we have a wall thickness. We'll use default, so this is default wall thickness. This is, we'll use default hinge size because a hinge is basically a pivot. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Hinge dia. All right. And then from the center point X, there we go. From, I guess I'll just use a point, which has disappeared off that. From there to there is upper arm length. And then we're going to assume that includes the hinge. So from there, let's do 3 millimeters here. Shoot, that's not how, well, that is correct there. But I guess I'll draw in this for forearm plus fist length and line it up collinear with here to visually indicate where this is. And the point being is that this has to be basically based off of that. Actually, if this whole entire flap opens up, like all this flap opens up, then it really depends on how much or how far we bring this arm out, whether or not it overlaps with this. I'm going to throw this 3 millimeters in here just to be safe. But in theory, and as it turns out, all this is just sketch at this point because these arms are not actually here. If we do this just to make sure we dodge the wheel well, and then this is arm square size. Okay, so that goes off into the hinge. So, and that's because we weren't accounting for this. So if I back this up, so we're going to need an inside, well, the inside wall will actually be above that. So that's not that big of a deal. This is the hinge right here. This arm can be above the hinge, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this arm can sit above the hinge. So we're probably all right here. So now, this distance right here is 72. 72 is a bit of a problem because, again, our work envelope, in theory, to keep the size somewhat. So this right here is medium wheel distance right here, and that goes there to there. So that's half of it, right? And then we were trying to keep this, actually, I guess from there. So we're trying to keep this, whoops, get out of here. Sketch. So we're trying to keep this distance equal right here. So the bottom wheel would then be right there. And this is, I'll have to figure out what my order actually is on these hotkeys that I'm used to. So there we go. So that is wheel dia, wheel thickness. There we go. So as you can see, the wheel is now overlapping this pouch right here. And technically speaking, that is not terrible just because, and let me turn the construction lines off. We could cut that out of this flap. Three and 3. So we could do this. Now the only issue is back to the feet. How we're going to fit the feet in here, because again, this wheelbase right here is what we were trying to keep within. So this may become an issue. I'm going to go ahead and, so the feet, I was still thinking about bringing out the trunk anyway. I wasn't thinking about doing anything else. I just slide the feet out the trunk. in which case this down here can be solid. And then it is a matter of how much room we need to fit this feet. And the feet aren't going to be able to fit because they'll be the same width as, in theory, the arms. And we clearly do not have the space in between here for two legs, right? So they won't be able to fit in between there, which means that they are going to, well, they'll fold up like the arms do. Let's see. Let me put this together really quick. Actually, this is my broken leg. I'm just really quick comparing the length of the leg that I have to the length of the arm. And yeah, I did make them the same overall length before. But the leg, in theory, can fold up equally because we don't have a separate foot portion. So instead of being extra long here because of the 15 millimeter fist attached to the forearm, instead of that, it would be the 60 millimeters. Let me double check that. Let me just check. I mean, I got the foot right here, right? 100 millimeters is what we have on the feet. So we got to fit 100 millimeters into this car. Well, 50 millimeters into this car. Make this parallel. Oh, nice. Somehow that was exactly 50. Sweet. And that's exactly 15. I have no idea how I did that. Oh my goodness. So this is a folded up leg right here. In theory, this is the exact length that we need to fit in here. If we have it here, then you can see that the trunk is quite, I mean, well, let's see. If this butts right up to there, if this butts right up to the arm, and actually, well, let's just give ourselves a little bit of breathing space. Do that. Do that. Collinear. Thank you. Then we can measure from the back of this tire to, whoops, from the back of the tire to here is 27.5. From the back of the tire, well, yeah, from the back of the tire to here is only 3 millimeters. It's only 3 millimeters, but we haven't drawn the whole entire front yet, right? So, I mean, just eyeballing that up and suggesting that that might look okay, right? It might look okay at that thickness. Then from there to the, from there to there is 45. And what did I say for down here? 27. So we still have room in the trunk at that point. Okay, so this might still work out. I think this might still work out in that case. And since we're doing a minimal design, I think I will go ahead and include this in the undercarriage then. The only question is, I only have 1 millimeter here, and if we're going to have plenty of space up here, okay, in that case, rather than this being 1 millimeter, I think I'm going to go down here and do 3 millimeters right there to try to give us enough space. And let's see, I'll come back up here. Yeah, I think that's the only one I needed to do. And we'll drag this down 3 millimeters. So that's the cutout for the wheel. And then we can go ahead and toss another one in here. I probably should have done this on multiple sketches, but I did not. So there. And then just a 3mm buffer down here. Okay. And at that point, that would be the undercarriage design. And then we can extrude this. Probably not this part just yet. That is part of the hinge, and that is part of the hinge. So actually, we'll do wall thickness. And let's make sure we're going in the correct direction here. So this is front. This is front. Where is the origin? So actually that does not look, so that looks like it's going up, which makes sense. So minus wall thickness, so it is below the origin. And then we will do, that's the top. Here, do this guy as a new, let's do 2 objects so we keep in the same orientation. New component, and that will be the, where'd my new component go? Oh, towards the end. That's where it went. And that will be the arm flap, right arm flap. Okay, and then actually this one, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I wasn't gonna extrude this one originally, but I think I will anyway. Because this is gonna have to get cut out for, okay, cool, I did that right. Because the hinge, let's turn this on right here. Because the hinge is, no, I guess I don't have to cut it out. Okay, gotcha. No, I'm making stuff up. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's fine like that. All right. All right. So what I'm going to do actually is come back to wheels. I wasn't sure when I wanted to. Oh, shoot, that's right. The axle has to come through here. I wasn't going to do that. So I was going to do the undercarriage below the axle. That's fine. That's fine. That's an easy fix. Easy-ish fix. Relatively easy fix. Okay. Yeah, it should be fine. It should be fine. No problems. Don't worry about it. All right. Well, let me come up here. Make sure that I am where I want to be. There we go. And let us do this. Components. Grab the wheels. Do that. Actually, don't do that one. We'll just do the long one for right now. Where's my other wheel? Oh, that's right. That's right. We can't mirror. We can't mirror because I placed the wheel right here. That was a little bit of a derp. Okay. 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 That's the last time I'll say okay. So this is the front, so we will do that. Why are you going this way? I'm clearly looking at from the front, so you should really be pointing the other way. All right, whatever. What if I do this? What if I go from the back? Yeah, you're still going that direction. Don't be a jerk. Go the opposite direction. Go front. Whoops, front. There we go. Go that direction. Nope, okay. So this is going to be minus then in that case. Median distance between wheels, and that's going to be center line of the other one. That's fine. Actually, Control Z. Let's do that inside of wheels. Front there. Minus median between wheel distance. Okay, that is going to be center, or I guess rear axle, and this is the Z-plane. How is this the Z-plane if that's my front? Oh goodness, that's another thing that this stupid setting screwed up on me. That's right, because it defaults to where is that? It sets Z to 4. Oh, stupid. All right, I'm done. Let's see. I guess that would be the Y, rear axle Y midplane. All right, there we go. And then I just need a midplane here, that guy, and the origin. And that is the wheelbase Y midplane. And now we can take that guy, create mirror, and I used to have this up here. Pin to toolbar, come up here. Oh, I guess I gotta come down to create form and unpin. There we go. I had something else up here. I think it was circular pattern. And drag, and there. All right, component, that midplane. And okay. All right, so that is what I wanted to do. And then back right mirror. There we go. Now we come back up here, and I wanted to just project that out instead of using this guy right here. So delete that guy for the time being, delete that guy, and project out that wheel. And now that we had a proper reference to it, let's turn the wheels off. Now we can reset that stuff up. Midplane there. I guess that's fine. And this is just 3 millimeters all around. 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters. And that should be good. Something is not constrained. What is not constrained? Where is my text box? Where's my text box? My text box is missing. What is the hotkey to show text box? Thank you, Fusion. Fusion 360 text commands. Show text commands. No, that's not the actual one. Where is like actual text commands? The solution I just found was trying to find, was actually the let's see. Okay, so the guy answering the questions just says, oh, this is the window you're looking for, but doesn't actually say how to open it up. Great. Great, 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 great. Go to solution. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. No, not that one. Why does text commands always show the sketch text? Sketch text is not text command. That is just the text creation tool, right? If I hover on this really quick. All right, give it back. Yeah, it doesn't say text command anywhere. Yeah. Command dialog? No, this is not correct. This is the API. This is writing command. Yeah. View, show text commands, Control C. I don't have a view menu. That doesn't do anything. Control C. Nope, not Control C. Alt C. Let's see. Alt Control C. There we are. There we are. Whoops. Why are you opening sketches scripts? All right. Sketch dot. Sketch question mark. What was it again? Show under constrained. Sketch dot show under constrained. Oh, not actually command. There we go. And where is the under constraint point? The under constraint point is right there. What are you? Deleted? Ah, no. Why is this? Oh, did I end up with a fusion double line? Is that what happened here? Okay. Well, there is that. And I have a bad feeling that I'm going to hit this right here and it's not going to... Okay, it looks like it did extrude correctly. All right. Cool. No harm, no foul then. All right, so this is the undercarriage body. And this is the right arm flap body. There we go. And so this is clearance for the arm. This is clearance for the legs. Let's take a quick look at that again. Right. So anything beyond this is wheel hub. So maybe I add a little bit for the wheel hub. Nah, we won't worry about it. Let us instead get this extruded. And which way do we want it to snap in? I guess it makes more sense to snap in from the bottom. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to correct this. So this will actually go offset minus axle diameter plus axle diameter divided by 2. And then, oh no, that's right. It is supposed to be minus. It is supposed to be minus because I want the axle to be inside of the body. And then we can add ourselves just like, I think we might be able to add maybe just a millimeter of space of clearance to make sure that we're clear. Oh, whoops. +1. This is what I wanted to do. There we go. So hopefully that's just enough clearance. Now the one thing that is going to run into a little problem is, again, this is our fish right here, but the axle is going to be coming straight across like this. So we will possibly run into a little bit of a problem there. We'll see if we can't work it out. Okay, and then this guy now wants to be defined from object. Let me turn this sketch off. The top of there to object, the bottom of there. Looks like that is correct. All right, cool. All right. Should I have split the difference there? The hinge placement is not actually going to be accurate now. So I think that's probably fine. I think we'll just redraw it. Because it's because we're offset here. Originally I intended to just extrude that where it's at right now. But that would involve, so first off, we're getting awfully low to the ground right now, which is unfortunate. But we need the clearance for the wheels. The only alternative is, let's take a look at this again. If this is the shoulder right here, so this is the shoulder right here. Yeah, no, there's no real way, because the elbow has to fold up, was the whole entire point. The point was to fold the elbow up towards the front. So we're kind of stuck there. Although if the elbow is, okay, so this is 15 square. So if the elbow is folded towards the front, then actually what we have here is, in theory, the upper arm is something like this. Arm square size. And then the upper arm is actually up here because it's folded up on top, which means that this axle right here is, the upper arm will be going over the axle, because the lower arm, wait, no, stop. All right, there we go. Because the lower arm, we know we designed it so that the lower arm stopped before the wheel well, which means that the upper arm will be above the axle over here. Okay, that's cool. That works. Oh, but if the upper arm is above the axle, then that actually means that we can't get it out. We might be able to get it out. We might be able to get it out because it can start unfolding as we flip this flap open, or as we start rotating, rather, more precisely, the lower arm out. All right. I think we may be all right. I think we may be all right. There's a couple things I'm a little concerned about. One, getting this arm out. Again, this flap is supposed to flap down, and then the arm is supposed to rotate out somehow. We hadn't actually established that. It could be, well, no, it can't really be on the hinge right here because we got the other hinge in the way. We have this open space right here. That we can use between the two wheels to rotate around. So that is a possibility if the arm is attached to the flap. If the arm is not attached to the flap, then we have other options. Although the upper arm being folded on top does get in the way at that point. So it may be that the hinge to unfold the arm from inside the body is right here in this square area that we have. The flap opens downwards, which then reveals the arm attached to the flap, the upper arm, as we rotate down, can still be stuck above the axle. It just, we're going to have enough room in the body right here for that to pivot down and out. So basically, as this flaps open here, this direction, I will go ahead and bring us to this orientation. The upper arm, that is opening right now, right? So the upper arm, whoops, did not mean to do that. Whoops, Control Y. The upper arm is actually going up and away right here towards the inside of the hood of the car. So that is a possibility that might work. All right. I think part of me wanted to get this hinge done, but frankly, there's been enough upsets in the stream so far with the power going out and Fusion resetting all my settings. So I think I'm going to go ahead and leave that here tonight. Did we make sure to label everything? I think we did. I don't think we missed labeling anything. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the middle there. I mean, not that I had any power over my power going out, but you know, thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for sticking around. If you're watching the VOD, then that will have been, if I did not forget somehow, edit it out. It's one of those things. Fusion does not let you, I mean, not Fusion, YouTube does not let you edit out immediately. It makes you wait for the video to finish finalizing. So I can't actually, when the stream is over, go back and edit out those 10-15 minutes that I had where the stream was down. Unfortunately, not immediately, so I do have to come back to that much later, tomorrow. So in the meantime, that will get edited out. You'll have to live with that until it happens, and we will come back to this at some point in the future. And I say sometime in the future because this is the sixth stream. Anyway, it is, we have spent a lot of time on this concept. Obviously, this is a different branch from the Prusa project, but we have spent a lot of time on this in the past week. So I would like to diversify back over to some other stuff for the next couple of streams, and we'll come back to this in the future. So all that being said, don't really have any plans for what I'm streaming tomorrow, if I am streaming. So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow could be just a try to get the rest of Light Lake, the current processes that I'm working on Light Lake, done, so that we can finally have a Light Lake update. Wow, tongue twister. Finally have one of those again, because it has been a very, very long time since one of those, since before the winter break. So that needs to happen. That may happen tomorrow. We'll see what happens. So that's the immediate plan for tomorrow, and then maybe because we didn't do any video game streaming over the weekend because I was printing all weekend, maybe we will do some Chroma Squad on Wednesday in that case. So yeah, that is tentative plans for the time being. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great, wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at in the world. And I will catch you next time.